Is it a nice day today?
It's Kenya, so it's always a
What
nice day.
does that mean?
I mean, like, we don't have crazy weather.
Yeah, no, not raining or anything like that.
So raining to you because you're from the western part is a
Yeah,
bad thing. Raining
yeah,
to us, you've been to Mogotio. You see,
yeah,
we value rain here.
yeah. Because for us, sometimes in Kisumu, sometimes the rain just stops the show. Not
We dance in the
necessarily.
rain when it rains here. We dance in the
Yeah.
rain.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the space where we reimagine Africa and reimagine living. I see someone has already joined us, and I'm looking forward to this conversation with Nelly Cheboi. Uh, Probably one of the most inspirational people I've ever met in my life. And I'm really glad that you're here, Nelly.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited because I think part of this conversation is going to be about your whole journey, how you navigated living as an African girl, and how you truly started really on a journey to truly transform the continent of Africa. Because that's where I see you. That's where I see you. I think you probably don't know this. Hi, Tiny. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. I think you don't know this. I don't think I've ever told you that I used to follow you on the Kwitu page. I saw you post here and there and post, some of the things you were doing. And when I saw you, I just saw your name and I'd be like, oh, okay, one day I'd like to take a look at that. And then one day I was sitting at home and I took a look and I followed you on every social platform on that day. Within 3 minutes, I had followed you completely everywhere. And I was like, what is she doing? Why is she doing it? How did she start doing it? Did you know that?
No, no, I didn't know. That's really cool.
Yeah. And that's really what happens. I feel like that's the effect, the Nelly effect. It's like when people find you, they definitely just jump on and they want to see what it is that you're doing.
That
So
is really sweet. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, that's really fun because many people have said that to me that, oh, I'm following her now. I vote 10 times. And then Joanne said yesterday, she's on my calendar, vote for Nelly every day.
Oh my God. That is so sweet.
Right?
Thank you so much. You have no idea what that means. I think
Yeah.
when you're in the day to day,
Yeah.
it really is really hard to keep staying motivated. You know, it gets
Yeah.
really hard. It does get really hard.
Yeah.
And so
Because it's, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, to hear words like that, it really encourages. You know, people will think like, oh, she probably gets it all a lot. I don't have to tell her that. No, but to hear that, it keeps me going.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to give up, but it makes the going a lot easier.
Yeah. Because it gets very quiet. You're working alone, you have a small team, right?
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think everybody knows by now, unless you're hiding under a rock, that Nelly has been nominated as one of the. She is actually one of the 10 CNN heroes, and that is an amazing accomplishment. You know, and how did you enjoy the process when they called you the first time? What did you think?
I had no idea that such a thing existed. And so I did not know. I did
Yeah,
not know about CNN Heroes. No. So I was in Mogotio in Kenya and I got a phone call and they said it's CNN and I think for me as an entrepreneur I've trained myself to have very low expectations.
yes,
So and said so they asked me questions and I just answered the questions and then I forgot about it. I was like, I'm not gonna dwell on it. I'm not gonna try to remember it at all because this is nothing. This is
yes,
probably nothing, right? And so the whole time, it's like, no, this is nothing. And then when they were like, what I kept saying from it is like, the best thing I can get from this, it's actually a really nice video for Techlit because we have all these nice photos, but we've never really gotten a producer to like do our story. And I was like, it would be so cool if we can just get a video that we can put on our website, people can watch and understand our story. And
yes,
so that was like that's what I was looking for. I was like, okay, I really hope they come to the ground and make a video. So when they made a video, I was really happy. And then everything else now is a bonus. I'm like, I got our video.
Oh my goodness. And that is a really that's a testament to just how you are. And I just want to let everybody that know that I have visited Nelly in Mogotio and it was a fun visit. And so today we're going to be talking about that journey, the Nelly experience as she was working to be the best that she could, just like everyone does. Everyone as a child has dreams. And so CNN, this is one of the top. But before that, Nelly, remember you were nominated Forbes 30 under 30.
I self-nominated for that. That is important.
Yes. Okay. Let's say you self-nominated, and tell us how that came about.
So I kept seeing Forbes under 30 for a while.
Hmm.
I think since I was like the last 3 to 4 years. And then I
Yes.
kept missing the deadline because I'm in Kenya, right? Like I never know when to apply. Like I think it's the beginning of the year, but then it's like it's already announced. I'm like, wait, how did that happen? And so I
Yes.
kept missing the deadline. So the year before that, I said, I have no shot of getting the Forbes under 30 America, the original list, right? So I applied for the African one the
Yes.
first time. I just like nominated for that. And so, and I did not hear, I don't hear from them. And so this one, I self-nominated again. And the pressure was really building because
Hmm.
I was 29, right? I was 29. This was my last year of eligibility. And so I had there was so much pressure. And so I made sure I knew that like the day to nominate. I put it on my calendar, and then I self-nominated. Like I didn't know anyone who can nominate me. No one knew about our work, right? And
Yeah.
so, and before, which is very very crucial, because before, as a Kenyan, you just normally like I'm just gonna do a good job, and then someone will notice, and then they'll do what I want, right? And so for me to go from like I'm gonna wait for someone to nominate me to actually self-nominating, I think it's a really big milestone on my part, on my career journey, on my growth. And so I
Yeah.
self-nominated, and so and then I got an email from them like a month in, and it went to my promotions folder. Like I would have missed that email. The email was just about like, hey, we got your nomination. We're looking for more information, right? And then
Mhm.
I filled the information in, and then I never heard from them. And so the whole time I was like, oh, well, that sucks. Well, I guess I'm never gonna make the list. I'm never gonna make the list. Like I should have heard from them by now. They should have done like background checks or something. And so and so when the list came out, it was after Giving Tuesday. And that Giving Tuesday, I was really sad because I had spent, as you've seen, a whole year of marketing, talking about Techlit, talking about our story. And so I thought that that Giving Tuesday, we're going to have a really big fundraiser. We're going to have a big donation. And then we didn't. We didn't raise that. We only had like 2 people donate to Giving Tuesday. And so I was really down. It's like I've
Mhm.
spent a whole year on this, nothing, no one is still donating. And then, so the next day, I had the list was out, and so I said, okay, I'm having a bad day anyway. I'm having a really bad day anyway. Let me just ruin it. It's already ruined. I'm just gonna go see who else made it.
Yes.
Ready to compare myself with them, be like, oh, what did they do that I didn't? No, no, no. You know how it goes, right? When you're having a really bad time. And so I was carefully reading. I went to the social impact one. I read the first one, the second one, and then when I went to the second row, I saw my face, and
Oh my
I
goodness.
I double checked the domain, like the domain from
Mhm.
because also before that I kept checking the promotions tab, right? Like seeing they sent me an email, like they should be sending me an email, sending me an email. I don't hear anything, so I assume I wasn't on the list. I saw my face, and so I double checked the like the domain. Is this really Forbes, right? It was. I was like, no, no, this is not Forbes. This is not Forbes. I went to a different computer. Is this really Forbes? And then I touched my name, and it was like Nelly Cheboi Forbes. I was like, wait, what? I it took me like almost 10 minutes of confirming that it was the right. It wasn't a scam
Yes.
before I went screaming downstairs to Tyler and be
Yeah.
like, hey, I made the Forbes list, right?
Yes.
And so that one, I think the experience with that one was like so surreal because I did not expect. I had really wanted it. It looked like it was not happening, and so I was kind of like trying to deal with the disappointment, and then being on the list. And so for months, like I'll just be in Mogotio, like the dust here is really like bad, and like it's really rural Kenya, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, damn, look at me, I'm on the FOB list. Like I just like it took me forever to really think about it. like to
Yeah.
really like cross. Yeah, I think it was like
I
so.
was so excited about that because and we're going to talk about the whole story and how we found each other, and just literally how you how silent it became when you were telling this story and there were no clicks. Like, you were posting on LinkedIn like every day, and then we'd be like one like. I'm like, and then the like is me. It's, I was like, I'm so disappointed. How am I the only one who has liked this post? Or then it's three other people who are consistent likers. It was like there were such few people who had heard the story, but I knew there was something that you were so magical that I knew that at some point someone would see you. I just didn't know when, right? But the interesting thing is, when you talk about tempering your spirit, waiting for something to happen, this is something you've experienced all your life, literally. Because when I was asking you, how did you get into high school? Because you were born and raised in Mogotio, right? And then you do well in your eighth grade exam, and it's time for you to go to high school. But there's a problem at that point. Let's talk about that a little bit, and so that people can see how this is not new to you, the setting low expectations, right? And how it started. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that, the high school experience.
So I was the top girl in the district from a village school, which was pretty cool. And we did not have money. We did not have money at all. And my mom went to all the government offices, says, "Hey, my daughter is the top girl in the district. She needs to go to school." She really walked. Like, she went to all these offices. And at the end only got 5,000 Kenya shillings, which is equivalent of $50
Yeah.
to send me to school. And so, which was really disappointing. And she was ready to send me to a smaller school, because
Yes.
I was called into a national school, Mary Hill Girls, right,
Yes.
which was 4 hours away from home. I'd barely been to the city, right? And so that school was already expensive, and they were asking for so many things. And so she was thinking like, "Oh, let me take you to the best district school in the area." And so everyone came, like, people were just telling her, "Don't do that, no, don't do that," right? She's the first girl in Mogotio to go to a national school, like one of the, like, maybe in a while, right?
Yes.
No, just take her. And so she took me to that school. And that is really like the only time, like, when I got admitted, we barely could afford just the things that they need, like uniforms and
Yeah.
mattress. And so weren't even able to pay for tuition. And I never really paid for tuition in high school because there was no money. My mom was by the roadside making chapatis and mandazis, barely making like 100 shillings profit. That's $1, right? And
Yeah.
so even just to get transportation was so hard. So you can imagine like paying like what, $300 per term for tuition. It
Yeah.
wasn't happening. So,
And here's the thing about what most people don't know, and part of the reason why I know this is because I got sticker shock. By the way, Nelly has a cough, so bear with her, right? I got sticker shock because I run Read Across Africa, and we have kids in high school, and I could not believe that it was $1,200 a year to get them in school. $1,200, and their parents make $1 a day. And that's the reality, and these are super bright kids. So when you were talking about that, I was like, my God. First of all, I want to tell the kids, who, if you grew up in Nairobi, you are ahead. Like, just because you grew up in Nairobi, you are ahead. And then if your parents had this money to pay your school fees, you are 10 times ahead. And that is the reality of Kenya. And that's why Nelly is so passionate about Mogotio, right? So you get to high school, and you said the whole time you barely ever, you were waiting to be sent home from school every time.
I was being sent home from school
Yeah.
all the time. I'll be sent home from school. I'll call my mom. She'll find a way for me to have someone in, because I could take a bus from Thika. So I didn't have to
Mhm.
go through Nairobi. Take a
Yes.
bus like from Thika all the way to Nakuru. And
Yes.
so I'll get on it, and then she'll find a way, someone in Nakuru, to pay for my bus fare when I get there, right? So I just like give her like a like a 4 hours notice, like, "Hey, I've been sent home, I need to get on a matatu to come home." And then now she has to go find $4, which is like really hard, like borrow some money. And then when I get to Nakuru, someone pays the bus fare. Mogotio, someone pays the bus fare. And then we go to the kibanda, we go to the kiosk, and we bake our mandazis and chapatis. trying to save on a $1 a day just to have enough money for me to go back to school, not even to collect the money I was sent, right? We're trying
Yes.
to raise like $2. It will take like almost 2 weeks to raise that. And so meanwhile, I'm just like reading. I bake my mandazis and chapatis. When I'm waiting for clients to come into the kibanda, I'm catching up on my studies because I was on the road a lot. And then I used to make sure I go back on Sunday because the bazaar was not there, the
Hmm.
accountant. And so I could lay low until I'm sent home again.
And you were at like 13, 14, 15, and you already had strategies on how to get back in school. I mean, Nelly, it is so inspirational to just literally talk to you and see where you're sitting right now, because that continued and you still did really well after 4 years of being sent home.
Yes, yes. I was the first A in Mogotio. For Kenyans, I got an A of 82 points. I got an A in everything like physics, math, geography. I got a B plus in Kiswahili, but the rest I got an A in.
Yeah.
And so I was the first A in Mogotio. And yeah.
Wow. And
But I
so,
have to make a really quick point here,
yeah,
which is it's really sad how expensive school is in Kenya. Like it should not be like that, right?
no.
And I feel like that is one of the systems that are actually like making it really hard to prosper as a nation. Like
Yeah, because I think you're right. Every year, like this time of year, I kind of think about it because the standard eights are taking their exam, and I know what is about to happen to us in January. Here's the thing: we have such a high cutoff point for us to be able to sponsor you because of our limited resources. And I know what you're talking about, because the fact that you were of the first A doesn't mean it should have been that you are the first A. There are others who probably gave up along the way because the burden was too great for a child to go through, right? So we're
yeah,
not
totally.
saying that this you're an anomaly. We're actually saying there are probably other children who would have gotten this opportunity, but many just had to give up because of the circumstances, and that is the reality of it. And now you get the highest score, you get the A, and then it's time to go to the university, and you choose what?
Actually, I am a marketer. I think I don't even know that
Yes,
until
yes, yes.
I didn't know it existed. And so I just started telling everyone, my name is Nelly. I got an A. My name is Nelly. Like mimi ni Nelly nilipata A. Mimi Nelly nilipata A. And my siblings used to make fun of me for doing that. And so I just kept doing that until someone heard about me. Like, oh, there's a girl who got an A. I was like, oh yeah. I actually know an organization called Zawadi Africa, which is
Yeah,
run by Susan Boyer. And
yes,
Zawadi Africa takes women, like ambitious women from humble background, and help them to apply to scholarships in the US. So Zawadi Africa has connections with schools in America, and they take you in, you work on your ACTs, you work on your ACEs, and then you apply. And so I got into Zawadi Africa,
yeah.
and then I noticed that like people were being assigned like 4 of schools, and I realized that wow, and then not everyone was getting scholarships. Like they'll take like 200 students, and because of limited resources, they'll have like 40, which is a really good conversion. Like 25% is pretty good.
It is.
But I mean, yeah, I don't know if you can still hear me or my
No, I
internet
can. I
is
can hear
breaking.
you're
You can
fine.
hear
You're absolutely fine. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was like, my chances are very low here. And I was like, if I'm spending a whole year on this, how can I only get four? Like, how am I gonna like only like? So I was like, okay, let me keep asking for more schools. And I just kept asking. I'll go and look. I noticed that the applications are almost the same. If you have a good essay, it's college application. It's very easy. And so I'll go and look at my friends. Hey, what school do you have? And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a cool name. Put it down. Put it down. Put it down. Oh, you have Agustana. I don't even know how to say that. Okay, put it down. And so I applied to 20 schools, like 5 times a season. And then I don't get any of it. Like most of them are partial schools, partial scholarships.
Yes.
And the only reason I actually went to Agustana, first of all, it was not a school I was assigned to.
Yes.
It's one of the school I just picked up off the shelf, like from
Yes.
my applicants. I just was like, oh, cool name. Okay, I'm gonna apply to that.
Yeah.
Uh, the only reason I got in is because someone else who had gotten the scholarship ran into visa issues and could not go. And so Agustana was like, well, we have an application package. Like, we have a scholarship package. What do we do? And they were like, what about Nelly? Because the team at Zawadi Africa, they were like, this girl, we see you. And that's how I went to America. Really, that's how. Like,
And Nelly, let me tell you, you are teaching so many things that I teach in my coaching classes. First of all, the first thing I remember when you first said it is don't ask for permission, give notice. You literally just gave notice. This is what I'm doing, and this is how it's going to be. And then there's another thing where you were saying when you were going down looking at the Forbes list, you're like, my goodness, let me compare myself to others. And then after a while, you realize that this is not what to do because comparison is the thief of all joy. As a matter of fact, that's what you were doing it for. Is so I'm already miserable. Let's get miserable. And then the third thing, Nelly, right now, one of the other things that we teach as coaches, we're always like, look, show up, do the work because it's not magic. If you're inspired and you were doing it out of inspiration because you knew that you were great, if you got a chance, you were going to do it. And it's just amazing that you already knew that at such a young age. And a lot of people give up. And I'm just so happy to be talking to you because you did not. Just, I mean, if you see the comments, and Nelly, I know you can't see the comments, I can't put them up fast enough. They're going to show up on the screen and you'll have to look at them later. But there is just inspiration. Everyone is so excited for you. And number one, I want to say to you, because some of you might not be able to stay on for the whole time, Nelly needs your vote. You can vote 10 times each day. And I just want to ask you guys, please vote for Nelly. You haven't heard, that is just the beginning of her story. She comes to the US and now she's a student, and partial scholarships don't help children from the rural areas much. So you needed a full scholarship. If someone tells you that, oh, you've gotten an 85% scholarship and you have to put 15%, in America, they'd say, oh, that's pretty good. But for a girl from Mogotio, it's like, what are you doing? That wasn't good enough. You
It was
needed
like
the whole.
20,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I got the full amount because they had a scholarship package.
Yeah.
And I think just to piggyback on what you just said, I don't know when I started doing this or how I developed this. I
Yeah.
think for me, I look forward to myself. I look like far ahead and I'm like, if something happens or if like as a way to just like not to be too hard on myself,
Yeah.
I always think like at that point when I haven't gotten what I was looking for, will I be able to say that I tried everything that I could? So that I look at that point and I'm saying, and if the answer is yes, then there's nothing I could have done. Then I don't get too down on myself. And so every step of the way, everything that I do, I'm always like thinking, if a disappointment comes by, and the answer to that is like I did not try everything that I could, or I could have tried something else, that will really suck. So how do I avoid that? And so that's the reason I was doing Zawadi Africa like that. I was like, if I don't get a scholarship, because I only have 25% chance of getting a scholarship, would I say that I tried everything that I could?
Yeah.
And the answer was no. I needed to get more schools. And
Yeah.
so even though it wasn't like people were just given 4 schools and everyone was applying to 4, I was like, no, let me get more schools. Let me see if I can get more schools, right? And so that's how I live my life today. I don't know where I got that from, but that's how I live my life now.
Yes, yes, yes. Gloria, please post the voting link. It's on my Facebook page. Please post it on in the comments so that everybody can vote. I see Patricia just did. Patricia just did. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Vote for Nelly 10 times today and 10 times tomorrow and 10 times until it closes, right? Here's the thing. You get to the US and now you are thinking you're in the US, and then your family also still needs support, and you decide to build a school.
Actually, I did not build a school first.
Yeah.
I think what I needed to do first was move out of my childhood home because it was a slum, right? It was
Yeah.
raining. We were not taking any pictures. We were not having any friends over. And so my immediate thing was like, okay, I need to set up my family to be in a better position. And so I got a job as a janitor, like cleaning bathrooms. I was on a work study program, so I was waking up at 6 a.m. on Saturday until noon, and then Sunday the same. That is already 10 hours. And then I was picking up like other hours during the week to get to 20 hours. So I could
Yeah.
only work 20 hours a week
Yes.
at $8.25 an hour. $8 an hour, which is not much, right? And so I was saving all this money, and like most of the international students, they would go home for the summer. I stayed in school. Like, I was the only person in a dorm, like a very big dorm. I'm the only person in there, waking up very early to go and clean bathrooms. And so in 1 year, I was able to save enough money. By enough, I mean like $1,200 to come home and go to Gikomba and buy like furniture and move my family into a rental. Like I could not even afford to build them a place. I was just a student, really cleaning bathrooms. I'm a
Mhm.
very good janitor right now from experience. And so,
You're a good janitor.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea for the school came about because I had moved my family into a nice apartment. Like before, they were paying $3 a month and really struggling, and now they are paying like $40. That's a lot of money. They had no source of income. My mom was still by the roadside making chapatis, and at this point, her health was really bad, and so business was really like she was losing money doing the business, but she could not stop
Nelly,
because she just
I want to stop you. I just want everybody to pay attention to what Nelly said. She moved her family from an apartment where they were paying $3 to one where they were paying $40, which was supposed to be luxury. We're talking about they were living in a house that was 300 shillings, and she moved them to a place that was 4,000. So I want you to hear what that means, because Nelly, you talk about it like it's nothing, but I really want to emphasize this, because when you start working in the rural areas, you start putting things in perspective. And many people are from Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu. They live in the towns, and they don't truly internalize what this means and why this is so important, right? And so when you say she went to Gikomba because she was going to upgrade her family. And most people go to Gikomba when they need to downgrade into something. Do you see what I mean? I want everybody to truly understand, number one, why they are voting, why this is a big deal, and to also understand that this is the story of many people in the rural areas, and why it is important for us in the diaspora to step up and not worry too much about our personal comfort and get into purpose living, because you can actually do both. You can live in comfort and have purpose, and change the world, right? And so once you have done that, you start the school, right? You've moved your
yes, I started
family
the
to
school.
school.
Started
Mhm,
the school mostly because,
mhm,
again, they were really struggling to afford the apartment. My
mhm.
mom was still by the roadside, still working really hard. She couldn't quit because she had been working like that for 20 years, right? She just had to keep holding on. And so I was sending money every month to support their lifestyle, sending money for rent, sending money for my mom medical bills, often like sending my mom capital so she can keep the business going. And I realized that if I keep doing that, I will be stuck supporting them. And I think this is the story for so many people in diaspora, is that you get to a point where you support your family, and that's it. Because problems like the black tax, you are paying for everything. You are helping your aunt, your cousin, your step, whatever. And so you still need to get stuck there. And I noticed that I was like, oh, I'm gonna be stuck supporting them. And there's no dignity in that, by the way. Even
No,
if I'm
there
there,
isn't.
there's
There
no
is.
dignity in like, giving money all the time. And so I was thinking, okay, how can I enable them to make money?
Yeah,
And so the idea for building a school came about because I went to Kenya again, and I just went home the second time, and I was just around. So I went to visit my sisters. One of them was working as a waitress, like in a kibanda as well,
yeah,
and then the other one was got a job teaching at a school, making 4,000 shillings a month, which was barely getting paid for. So I was really angry because she was doing everything. She was running the school, but she was not getting paid. And then I looked at the school, and it was made of like tin roof,
yeah,
mabati. I was like, you know what? I can build that. I was like, I'm in America. I am an African girl in America wanting to build a school. Obviously, people will fund that, right? And so the reason I built the school initially, really, the reason I was okay to just start, I was like, oh, people would fund this.
yeah,
That is like, and so I went to America and I was like, okay, I'm gonna build a school, very tiny school. I already had like $1,000 saved up, and I was like, okay, I told my sister, okay, I have money to get started. I'm gonna fundraise for this. You just like have the contractors on the ground, have the mafundis on the ground.
yeah,
I think like 100,000 is so much money. $1,000 is so much money. That
yeah,
money just Didn't even finish doing the pit latrine. He ran out. I made a GoFundMe page. I poured my heart out, and I was like, I only raised $300. And meanwhile, people were on the ground building the school. And so then it became, oh wow, entrepreneurship is hard, right? And
Yeah.
so I just kept asking people, asking friends, like asking my college mates, which were very skeptical. I just kept asking, hey, can you just lend me $500? I'll pay you back. Can you just lend me? Which is very hard because these people are not used to lending money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason they gave me that loan, like $500, that like $50 to pay the mafundis at the end of the day, was simply because I wasn't asking for very little. I wasn't asking for much,
Yeah.
just that they're like, she doesn't pay, it's okay. And that's how I finished the school. I maxed out on my shifts, I saved any money I could, and then I just kept asking people for like loans. And yeah, and
And
so
all
I,
this, and all this time you are a student and you are
yeah.
studying what? What were you studying?
Oh my god, the whole story for my education is also really sad. So I grew up wanting to be a pilot, and I think, I grew up scavenging for food, and often a plane would fly by. And so I always growing up, I always thought, does every kid have to worry about raising a younger sister, or have to worry about food, or have to worry about studying in verandas? And so I all around me was the same. Like all my friends, they were still poor, right? And so I would consume books. I loved reading the newspaper. Like I'll go to a butchery and at the end of the day and borrow their newspaper and read that, because I was trying to imagine what life was like out there. And so the idea of being a pilot was like the ultimate thing. You're getting to explore the world and get to know all these people. And so for so long, for almost 16 years, given that I'm a marketer, I'm always like, my name is Nelly, I want to be a pilot. My name is Nelly, I want to be a pilot, right? And so when I flew for the first time, it was very exciting. I was flying. I was gonna go to America and find a way how I can be a pilot. And my flight experience was horrible. The flight was very long. The food was not tastable. I could not talk to anyone. And I realized like I don't want to be a pilot. So I'm landing in America and like barely speaking English because I was living in the village. Like I was only using English in school. and and I realized I don't want to be a pilot, and that was incredibly sad. I was like, how have I had this dream for 16 years and I had no experience of what it would be like to be a pilot? Like
Right.
if I had grown up in America, I would have known that I would have flown or something, right?
Yes.
If I had such a very strong dream, because in Kenya I was looking for a pilot in Mogotio, and the closest I got is because someone knew someone who was in the army, and in the army they have like air people, like people who
Yes.
fly planes.
Uh-huh.
And so I saved that person on my mother's phone is Aviation Morogo, and then I'll call him all the time. Did you get a hold of that person who knows someone in the army who may know a pilot? Did you get a hold? Like I kept asking because I wanted to ask him questions of what being a pilot was like. So I really like, it wasn't just like a childhood dream where you just say no. I really invested in
Yeah.
trying to know what the experience was like. And so when I got to America and that did not happen, like I realized I did not want to do that. It made it very clear that the reason, like, it's simply because I'm growing up in Mogotio. Like life is, this is happening because I'm growing up in Mogotio, and this is continuing to happen in Mogotio. And so then I went on to like, I was like, okay, maybe I'm smart, I can be a doctor.
Yeah.
And then I had it's gonna be a cadaver lesson, like where you chop a dead body. I'm like, okay, maybe
No,
not
that's
that.
not it.
And so I did chemistry. I was doing chemistry. I had no idea about computer science. I had no idea about software engineering, because where would I have learned that? Like I just like used a computer like a few seconds ago applying to scholarship in the US. And so this whole time I'm trying to figure out what I need to study. At the
Yeah.
same time supporting my family and also building a school.
I mean, it's a whole lot, but Nelly, there's something within you. There's fire. It's like you were born with fire within you. It's almost like whenever it's the end, it's not the end for you. It seems like there's always something. Even getting on the plane, you're like, oh, this is boring. Oh, this is not what I expected. But it's almost like you have a but, this is what I'm going to do next. And that truly, I mean, sometimes you talk whenever, like when I visited your school, I was just looking around and I'm like, nothing stops you. There's nothing that stops you. And it's so admirable. And that's really what was magical for me. And that's what's magical for all the people who are listening today, because everybody's looking for inspiration externally. You have it internally. It's like you're just inspired. And it's really amazing to watch you. So how do you move from chemistry to now focusing on technology?
Oh, so I did chemistry. It was easy, but I did not like it as much. Like I
Y'all, she
like
said chemistry was easy, everybody. Did you hear that? Chemistry was easy.
you know, I kept asking my teacher, like I did not want to.
Oh, we are losing your audio a little bit. Mhm. Yeah, go
Is it
ahead.
better now?
That's better.
Is it
Yeah.
back? Okay. So I was in a I lost my train of thought. Okay, so I was doing like wet lab, like where you're mixing chemicals and all that stuff, which is like where most of the jobs are, right?
Yeah.
And I don't like that much. I was like, that is very lonely. And so I picked up theoretical chemistry. And so I kept asking my professor, what can I do with theoretical chemistry? And they
Yeah.
said, oh, you can work on improving the melting point of hydrogen by like point 0.1. I was like, oh, I mean that is really good job, but I'm like, oh, really? So I was constantly looking for something else. So I picked up mathematics. I was like, okay, let me do math. I didn't even know what I was gonna do with math. I was like, let me pick up applied mathematics. And so luckily, one of the requirements for a math major is that you take an introduction to computer science. And so I was at that year in college. Almost, I barely have like a year or two of scholarship left. And so I
Hmm.
picked up introduction to Java, and I just fell in love with it. Like I just typed and there was instant feedback, unlike chemistry where you're working for years and theory and then like only to improve melting point by point 0.1. Here it was instant feedback. And so I was like, I'm switching to this. So I
Yeah.
dropped chemistry. I had like almost all the credits. I was ready to get a chemistry degree. I
Yeah.
dropped it and I was like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I am doing computer science. And so that was also really challenging because I did not have the basics. Like
Hmm.
knowing even how to Google, how to use a terminal, how to even type. I did not have that because I just used a computer very recently, right? And so I just kept. So my last year of college
Yes.
was just like doing like 4 very hard computer classes back to back. So I got a computer science degree in 1 year, and that's because I had my math major like kind of covering most of it. But I
Yes.
did so many computer classes and really struggling to get through them because I did not have most of the basics.
And the thing is, you're around people who grew up with computers.
Yeah.
In So the comparison, it's almost like you better not compare yourself because you're not even going to come close. Just do you and get focused on what it is that brought you there, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So you once you finish at when once you finish at in college, now you have to navigate figuring out what am I going to do because your scholarship is over, and then you go ahead and start working as part of your
Yeah,
practical
yeah, right.
training.
So again, I think you summarized really well. The
Uh-oh, we're losing you again. Sorry.
okay. Am I back?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So the whole time I'm stuck with my computer classes, I'm thinking, I made it. I grew up in Mogote. I started until 2 a.m. in verandas, made it all the way to America, and still struggling with technology. What about kids in Mogotio who have never left Mogotio? And so
Yeah.
this whole time, as I'm building a school, figuring out my major, I'm thinking about bringing technology to my community. I
Yes.
was like, okay. And so it made the school even more purposeful because with the school, my sister could earn extra income from tuition, like
Yep.
parents pay $10 a month, and that income could support the school and support my family. So my family was good. They had decent money. They were productive in the society, right? And so now with the school, I could also teach computer skills. I could teach entrepreneurship because it was lacking in our education system.
Yes.
And then also I'm trying to get a computer science degree in 1 year. So after I graduate college, I want to be a software engineer, right? But I
Yeah.
can't because I'm doing interviews and I'm
Yeah.
failing. Because when you're doing a software engineering interview, you are coding right, over Zoom, right, or something.
Yes.
And I was taking forever to type that I would not even finish a function. If you tell me to like solve it on a piece of paper, I can, but to do it on I couldn't. And so I had my OPT was I had only 3 months to get a job. I was barely getting interviews. Like first of all, I could barely get an interview because I'm an international student. Most people don't hire for
They
that,
don't
right?
want you.
They don't want you. And then when you get an interview, you're typing like a DJ, right? Like it was really hard. So so time was running out. So I went to one of the career website and
Uh-huh. Nelly, I need you to sit still.
okay. Oh, sorry. I move a lot. Yeah, I'm
I
very
know.
jumpy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I clicked quick apply to all, and then I got an interview for a business analyst. I never even heard about that, like what a business analyst is. Like I needed a job, and so I got an interview as a business analyst doing it's almost like data entry,
Yes.
right? That's the job I got, and then
Oh, we're losing you. We're losing your audio.
is it back?
Yeah, it is back. I think you're moving.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I got a job as a business analyst, like more like a data entry job. And then in that job, I wanted to have the title software engineer. I really wanted it. And so first of all, I get to that job and I see my boss doesn't have any words on the keyboard. So this whole time I used to think that people who are typing so fast had become really good at looking. And so I was practicing to look. And I kept thinking I'm gonna become better by just looking at the keyboard. And so I see my boss doesn't have any words on the keyboard.
No letters
And I'm
on any key.
yeah. And I was like, how do you then I realized then I learned about touch typing. And so I was like, oh, that's touch typing. And so
Now talk about
I,
what touch typing is.
so touch typing is I think most people in America they already know this. Like you
Mhm.
don't type by looking at your keyboard. You just
Yeah.
arrange your keys, right? And you type. That's the default. In Kenya, most people type like they look at the keys, right? All the time they look at the keys to find the keys because they don't know they don't know touch typing. So that was the case for me. And when you are looking at the keys, you can barely type anything. You're very slow, which is okay in Kenya because people don't have computers. They don't use
Yeah.
computers, so it's fine. You don't need. But in America, where everything is on a computer, when you're applying for a job, you're doing on a computer, it becomes a liability not to
Yes.
touch type. And this was the case for me. Like when I was doing my job, and my boss like would come to my desk, I want to show him something. I would sweat. I would stammer because I'm so scared I'm gonna get fired that I'm typing really slow, that I'm a liability. And so when I learned what touch typing was, it took me 6 months of doing a touch typing course to be able to know how to touch type.
Yeah.
And so this whole time I am trying to automate my job. Like I don't wanna do data entry. I wanna be a software engineer. And so I'm barely like writing any codes to automate my job until towards the end my boss was like, you know what? We are gonna hire a business analyst. You join the software engineering team. And I got that title. And then I was like, it was still the same pay though. I was like, okay, no way. So I applied for another position as a software engineer in a different company, right? And so then I got hired as a bona fide software engineer, like not the one where I got grandfathered in because I was automating my job.
Yes.
And so that was the really coolest thing ever, like to be called like Nelly Cheboi software engineer. And then I was over that in a year. So now I'm into the word founder and CEO.
Right. But here's the thing. So at this point, when once you start earning the money, your dream is still needs money.
No, my dream was already going on. I was still
Yeah.
investing in the school. So I
You are
launched the school when I was still a student. And because I think I think two things like really worked out for me. The
Mhm.
first thing is that I started. I started when the risk was very low. Like I was a junior in college. I'm building a school. Like worst case scenario, the school fails and I get a degree. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't the risk was very low, and I think that helps because once you get out of like once you go into corporate America, like life becomes so real, and you become less of a risk taker, right?
Yes.
And the second reason I think that that really I really that really helped me was that I was frugal from the beginning. I got into America. I was already saving all my money when I was being a janitor. And so I did that for 4 years because I moved my family out of poverty. I built a
Yes.
school. And all this time I needed money. Not because I'm really good at saving money. It's because I think just by necessity, I needed to like support my family. You have to do that. Okay. We have contractors on the ground. They need to get paid. You have to do that. And so after 4 years of just doing that, I became really frugal. You can even tell, like, look at my hair, right? I'm just a very frugal person. And so when I went to America and the income increased, my lifestyle stayed the same. And I think those two things really helped me. And so
Did you
any
hear that?
income I
When her income increased, her lifestyle stayed the same. And that's part of the success of this, right? Because
yeah,
you had a purpose, you had a definite thing that you were working on, and it was more important to you than your comfort.
yeah, I mean, for me, it was like, I mean, I grew up sleeping, standing up when it rains. So, like, being in America was already a comfort. Like, being in the dorm was already too much fun, right? So,
So, Nelly, you can't just say something like that. I was sleeping standing up because there are Americans listening and they're confused. Can you talk about that?
oh, okay. So, I grew up in a tin roof house. And so, when it rains, like, the house floods. Like, there's a lot of holes. There was a lot of holes in the ceiling. There's no ceiling anyway. Whatever the roof. It's a tin roof house, very old. And so I used to sleep on the floor, which was a disintegrated cement floor, like it was very full of potholes. But so when it rains, everything is wet. So you can't sleep on the floor like it's wet. So you have to, and then everything is getting like your mattress is getting wet, and so you stand up when it rains. Right.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's yeah. I
yeah.
just want to make it clear because they'd be like, what do they do over there in Africa?
No, it's just like this
Yeah.
poor Africa village. Yeah, and
Yeah,
so
it was the poverty. It was the
yeah,
poverty.
it was a poor, and this is like in Nairobi, it's not the case. Nairobi is very fancy, like in
Well,
the
let me
village.
go ahead and say that it is in Nairobi. It's like there are two Nairobis or three Nairobis actually. And I always
Yeah.
call it, you go into Nairobi and some of the places are, I mean, it's like, where am I? You don't even know where you are. It's the same with restaurants. You go into Nairobi and there's some restaurants, you might as well be in New York City, right? And then there's what you call the middle class, people who have homes, they're just average homes. And then there are people who are actually, there might be four Nairobis actually. Let me not even break it down. I found another category as I was saying it, right? So, basically there's a wide spectrum is what we are saying. And so now you decide that you're going to do this. And Nelly, the thing that I want people to know is how young you are. I froze you at 24, right? I froze you at 24, but apparently you're aging because you were Forbes under 30 and you had the last year to get in. So you're
Yeah, I'm
turning
29.
30. You're 29.
I'm 29.
You're 29 years old, right? And so, it is just amazing that you did this. You are literally a child. You have been fending for yourself with your mother because your mom has been very involved in your life. Like, she has participated in everything as she
Yeah.
could, right? And so now you have this dream. It's a little bigger. You are expanding the dream and you're saying we can actually give access to a lot of children because you figured out that there's a solution with opportunities like on Fiverr where you can get your own employment. And that was
It's
the
a lot fancier. It's a lot fancier now. When
I
I started, it was like, oh, they could build a logo for someone. Like right now, they could work for corporate America in Mogotu. That is the goal, and it's happening. One of our teachers is doing that.
yes.
One of our teachers is working is working for a company in America, in San Francisco, from Mogotu. So he logs in into his machine, works in America. And so for me, I think, yes, I had this school, and I was thinking, I kept investing on the school. So it's very small. Right now it's a 4-storied community center.
Yes.
It also has a hair school. But then I realized that I cannot keep building schools because it's very expensive to build schools and it's very hard to fundraise. I think
Yes.
I got a little bad taste onto fundraising after the whole GoFundMe time the first time. And
Yes.
so I've become really resourceful on how I fund stuff. And so I I realized, like, oh wow, if I can augment the existing schools, if I can add technology, then I have a chance to scale. Like I can just go to any school, bring technology in, and then with technology I can do so much.
Yes.
And I also understood the systems in Kenya. As I mentioned, as we were talking earlier, like parents should not have to go into debt, right, just to educate their kids, right? In my village, I know people who have had kibandas, who have had kiosks since I was in second grade, and they're still there.
Yes.
No upward mobility. And then some people, like, they do really well until their kids get to eighth grade, and then all the wealth they've accumulated just plummets because they are paying for school.
For school.
So that kind of system is really hard, and that is, I think, that is what are the systemic causes of poverty in developing nations. Is not the government or corruption, is that the systems that are supposed to enable small entrepreneurs, right, they're supposed to enable them to
Hmm.
grow and build companies and hire people, are not there. And so people are competing for the little government jobs they are, that is being paid by a taxpayer money, which is not there like enough. Like, so
The tax
this
system
system
doesn't
is
exist.
cyclical. Right, there's no tax system, therefore schools are expensive, and it just becomes a cycle of poverty. And I realized that when I discovered computer science, and I was like, how do I not know about technology? So I was reading about technology, about startups, about all this, and I was like, to fix poverty, we essentially need to fix that. But
Yeah.
the system is so embedded, no one president will fix that. It's not, it's very embedded, very integrated, and it's really hard. And so, because, okay, if Kenyans was to make schools free and they tried, who will fund the schools? There are no
Nobody.
taxes. There are no
Yeah.
taxes to pay for the schools, right? So where's the money coming from, right? If they were
And
to make loans, like if you're looking for a loan as a business person in Kenya, the lowest you're looking at is 13% interest rate. Okay, if they
you're
were to
on.
make the interest rate smaller, how are they gonna like cater for default rates? Because there's no credit system to like ensure that people so it's really hard. But in America, loans are very easy, especially for business loans. You can even sometimes get negative interest loans to get your business. And so I noticed that, and I was like, wow, to fix poverty we need to fix that. But that is a really hard problem for a 24-year-old. I think I was 23 or 22 then. And
Yeah.
so then I was like, you know what? Let's tap into an existing system. Let's tap into jobs in America, right? Let's encourage people to build startups because it's easier than building like this, like brick and mortar businesses. And so that became the idea. That became the idea of Techlit Africa. In that, it's very hard. We want to sustainably fix poverty, but
Hmm.
it's very hard to fix the systems. So what if we build a digital infrastructure instead, where people, especially the most neglected one in the rural villages, can learn these skills and tap into companies like in America, in Europe, right? And this is not a new concept. This is happening in India, it's happening in the Philippines, it's happening everywhere. And right now it's happening in Mogotu because one of our teacher got a job. So it's proven thing. We just need to scale it,
Yeah.
right?
And
And
here's,
so,
I'd like to speak
so
to the diaspora a little bit about that. You said something that many people don't get. Of course, fundraising is not an easy thing. It takes more energy than it is actually worth. To me, is
mhm,
what I feel about it. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because many of us initially, you start with building something, right? I did
mhm,
it. My parents had a home, they had passed away. And what I did is I injected a lot of money in it, got all these books in there, and it's an amazing space. Our kids enjoy it. And even this week, someone came to me and she was asking, can you please open another one of these? The amount of money that goes into a building like that and running it. And then when the children start getting successful and you have to pay your school fees, it takes you backwards more than it does take you forward. So for all of you in the diaspora who think that building the building is the thing, think twice. Find a way to get technology to change the community. That's the way you get out. And that's part of the reason why, Nelly, for me, I just keep looking at you and seeing what you're doing. And I cannot wait for it to just grow and get everywhere. Right? That's why for me, every time, and those people, those of you who have sent Nelly before, I know you're going to be watching and I know you're connected and I send you Nelly's stuff. I need you to pay attention to this Because I'm always texting, have you seen this? Have you seen this girl? And I know they are connected. And I think there's a wait and see attitude to see what you're doing, and then they'll fund it. But I totally believe that it's time for us to get away from the buildings. It's a little bit more elevate what's already existing and then
Yeah,
move
it's
forward.
not even like, it doesn't have to be technology. It's more
Hmm.
like, how can you build a sustainable system with it?
Hmm.
Like, how can you build a sustainable system? And I can't think of one on top of my head. Like right now, I have a hair school, for
Yeah.
example, where women
Hmm.
are coming in and learning how to braid hair. And so the program is only 3 months long, right? And in 3 months long, they can start their own salons. And you know what they're doing? Because of their business acumen and what they've learned from the school,
Yeah.
they're going to university towns, because these young students have money and they always do their hair every 3 weeks. They're going there and starting their own salons there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we are exporting talent into the, so like,
Hmm.
how do you start an economic activity? And that is like, we didn't have, like, the investment was really low. I already had a building I could donate,
Yes.
and then that's it. And then they just needed a teacher to teach them for 3 months, and then they just go and start their own thing. And so
Right.
we have had like 200 women graduate from the program. And what is really cool about this is that most of these women had don't know how to read and write. Like, they drop out of school, and most of them are like in abusive relationships because of the power imbalance. Like, they're not able to bring any income to the table, and therefore there's a lot of abusive relationships. And so and so but now they have their own income, and they can leave these relationships if they want to, because they have the power to do that, right? They
Yeah.
have their own. And so it's more about like, looking at a system, how do you build a really easy, how do you start easy, and how do you build it scalable?
Yeah. And then one other thing is also join already existing programs and transfer that program into your space. Like for you right now, you would go anywhere and go and do the work if it was funded, right?
If the community funds it.
Yes,
Oh, I
if the
don't.
community funds
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
there, right?
I think
So
I feel like I have to talk about that a little bit. So
yeah,
so one thing that Techlit does too is that our parents, the Techlit parents, they pay for the program. So the program costs us $400 a month, which is 40K. And people will think here in Kenya, like, oh, just get someone to fund it. Like, oh, you're in America, there's so many donors. But we only work with people who can raise that money. And that money is not a lot, actually. Because if a school has 800 students, then you're asking each parents to contribute 50 shillings, which
yeah,
is 50 cents, right? Per month, right? And so right now, if if you want a techlet in your community, Jean, you know what to do.
yeah,
Get the parents, make them understand that they need to just raise 40,000 Kenya shillings
a
per
month.
month, and we're there, right? Because the computers are there. That's what we
Yeah,
spend our efforts on, getting the computers into Kenya. But once they're in Kenya, it's sustainable. And you see
yeah.
now,
Hmm.
with Techlit Africa, we can guarantee, actually not automate, we can guarantee that as long as you are paying for the cost local operations, we're going to be there. Because what is going to stop us, right? The funding is coming from local community, right? The employees are from the community. The schools is already there. And so it's really easy to keep this long running. When a kid is joining a Techlit program, when they're in first grade,
Yeah,
they're going to be there until they're eighth grade, because the system is self-sustaining.
right.
But you find that people will say things like, okay, what if you involve the government to fund this? The government doesn't have any money. So involving them just cripples the project. Okay, what if you fundraise for schools and give scholarships? That cripples the projects, because we're going to be spending most of our efforts fundraising for existing schools that we can't just grow, right? But right
Right.
now, we have only fundraising to get the computers into Kenya. And once they're in Kenya, they're sustainable, because we have people in the community who can refurbish them, who can update them. We are training our teachers to teach the classes, and therefore once we are in, it runs forever. And that's what I'm talking about, like looking at a system, building a sustainable system, that the incentives are aligned. A parent has a lot more incentive to contribute 50 shillings a month for their kid to learn technology than a politician has to contribute 40,000 Kenya shillings. You see, like, the power of low numbers, it makes sense for the parents to pay than getting the government or the politician, because with the
Yeah.
parents we're asking very little. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you first came in, it wasn't an easy thing to convince the schools to truly participate because they didn't
It's
understand it.
still not. Oh God, it's still not. Still not. The reason right now we're at 15 schools. We want to be at 100. The reason
Yeah,
we're at 15 schools because no one is listening to us. They're like, so you're a business? You're an NGO. Why don't you just get money for us? Like, and so like no one is listening. Like they don't understand. They're like, why would we pay for like when you could just like fundraise, just get
yeah,
an American to pay for this, right? That is the handout mentality we're dealing with.
yeah,
And so no, it's not easy. On my phone, I have 100 phone numbers of head teachers that I've called. They are calling me scammers, first of all. Like they're like, who are you? Like, why are you asking us for money? And then when we get to a point where they see what we're doing,
yeah,
they're saying, oh, this is really good. But then they give you the worst case scenario in their school.
yeah,
Like, I have this one kid who cannot afford even exams. And you're like, what about the other 799? Those others can raise the money, right? And
yeah.
so that's the mentality that I'm dealing with is the handout mentality. They think that NGOs should just give, right? And
Right.
they don't really understand. And so that's what I'm in Kenya a lot. Like I've been in Kenya for almost a year now.
I know.
And that is what I'm dealing with is yeah, it's just trying to convince them that, hey, you want to pay for this. So that's the hill I'm battling right now.
Yeah. And I think here's the thing with the project itself. I think once they see it, I think now being on this international platform, hopefully they won't call you a scammer much longer because I also have the title of Illuminati. I don't know if you know that about me. Apparently, our library is funded by the Illuminati, and so kids should not. I mean, it's there are all kinds of stories, but those don't touch you because you see what the impact is, right? And so
Oh
you
yeah, they
know
don't. Yeah.
it's like it just rolls off your back. It's like basically when that happens, you're like, I have work to do. I need to educate this community about what the benefits are. That's basically what it is. Now let's talk a little bit about where you are now. Um, you have of course you were nominated, and recently I saw, as you've been telling this story and asking for votes, that your mom is going to be joining you in New York at the event that surrounds this. And talk a little bit about how she is, because I remember when I came to Mogotio, we were like, let's go and find your mom, and she was in the town, looking all nice and happy, and she feels like it's all coming full circle because she really, really gave everything for the three of you, you and your two sisters. How is that
Yeah.
experience for you now?
There's actually like there's another one. There's the last one. We're
Yes,
still figuring out what we're gonna do with this with her life. So I think it's very wonderful to share this experience with my mom.
yes,
I mean I think I grew up watching her. I grew up watching her work really hard. Like she worked really hard to educate us.
yeah,
And people were telling her, you're so lucky you have girls. Like if you had boys, you needed to like buy land and right. And so I'm looking at this woman, phenomenal woman, like getting home at midnight because he was out like near Ethiopia buying goats to come and sell and being the only woman in that lorry, right? And then going all the way to Uganda, she even got arrested trying to buy stuff. This is a really cool story. So she used to go to Uganda and buy like matoke and then bring it. And going to Uganda is expensive. And so she'll get on a train and then she'll say, oh, I'm just going to a few stops. And then she'll hide. I am my mother's daughter. She'll hide until Uganda to get to
uh-huh,
Uganda and buy these things and then come in. And so one time she got arrested because she didn't have the right documents to do that. Uh, but then she'll come and sell sell the things at a much bigger margin a little bit, and 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 for her to come to such an international stage, like come to CNN gala, like that's like the fanciest thing ever. I think it really speaks to hope. It's not really it's yes it's really about her, but it's also about the sentiment, about the symbol that we are seeing these women, African women, working really hard, no upward mobility, putting up with a lot of shit, right? Like they're doing the same businesses, they have the same kibanda, and then all of a sudden like they're raising their grandkids and all these things, and they still show up and they still do so much for their kids. And I think that her being like who was like that, coming all the way to America to this gala at such an international stage speaks to a lot of hope that I think African women put up with a lot.
Yes.
And I think that they're so neglected. They just assumed. Like it's first I think the most saddest one is when they raise their kids and then they raise their grandkids. This happens a lot in rural areas.
Yeah.
Like their kids go have kids and they bring all the kids here and then they're raising their grandkids, right? And they put up with a lot. And I feel like they're so neglected. They have this resilience in them and so therefore they just get so much shit thrown at them. And so I see my mom as like that. And for her to be able to come all the way to America and share this experience with me, I hope breaks the cycle and like I think really speaks to hope.
Yeah. And everyone's really super proud of you. When we were in Mogotio at the smoothie shop, everyone was like, Nelly, 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 you are quite the rock star in the village, in the town,
Thank
and it is so amazing to see you in this glory. And I'm just literally asking everybody, not just to support this endeavor to be, win the top prize of, the CNN Heroes. That's one thing, of course. And of course, there's a lot of gratitude for that, but also to rethink how we live. It is the story of just a challenge to each one of us to really truly rethink how we are living. It is time for us to get in the business of following the purpose, the thing that you are designed to do on this earth. The one thing about Nelly, I think all of us are noticing, you didn't really know what it is that you are here for. But everyone is looking for purpose and they seem to think that they're going to find it. It'll just come to them one day and it'll be like, hallelujah, and purpose will be here. It is by doing things, just being curious and trying this and trying that, it happens upon you. And then you follow it and it takes you all the way, right? And Nelly, if there's anyone who is a testament to that, it is you. I'm so proud. It was a weird. What also happened when you called me, because there was an administrative problem you were trying to figure out at the time. And what is interesting, I had been watching you for so long, and I was like, what do you even want to talk to her about? Because I used to think about it. I was like, I need to talk to Nelly about something. Because guys, I want you to know, everybody knows I'm a stalker, right? I stalk people, interesting people on Facebook. Right now, I'm stalking this lady who her name is Doreen Selly, and she has a shoe line. She sells shoes. She has a private label brand of shoes, and I'm just following her because I'm just so curious about what this is going to be, because I'm seeing her Facebook ads now, and it's in a totally different environment. But it takes someone who says, look, I think I can come up with a shoe line. And then they go out and find the shoes and put their label with their name on it, and they start doing this, and then it's a thing. And you're seeing people commenting from all places around the world saying, I love the shoes, I love the shoes. And I like following people like that because of the tenacity of the human spirit. It is time for us to get in the business of purpose. But I'd like to know, what's next for you? What is it that you want? Oh, we lost your audio. You've lost your audio. Yeah. There you go. There you go. I think it's back. Uh-oh. I think it's still gone. Are you covering it or something?
Is it better now?
Yes, there you are. You're back. Hmm.
Okay, okay. I feel like I have to clarify something.
Hmm.
So I have this thing where it's like, how do you? I think it's very hard to compare. Like, how do you be inspired
Hmm.
without comparing, right? And so when I was going to the Forbes page, it was more like, how do I get inspired by these people who made it to the list? Because it's very easy to compare yourself, right? It's very easy to just say like, oh, well, when Nelly went to America, she built a school. Like I'm in America, I haven't built a school and I'm already out of college, right? It's
Yeah.
very easy to compare that. But how do you get inspired by that? And the second thing I think is people think that you need to have this grand idea before you start. But I
Hmm.
think actually what you need to do is just start. whatever it is you want to do, just start. If you want to do a mentorship program and you're thinking like, I need to connect professionals in America with people in Kenya so they can mentor high school girls,
Yeah.
right? And then you're thinking, okay, I need to build a platform to recruit the Americans, and then I need to like find a way to get the Kenyans on Zoom call. That is already too complicated. You're gonna
Yeah.
get overwhelmed. But really, how do you get one student in America and one mentor, like one student in Kenya and one student in America? Connect them, see how that goes. Then get the second one, then get the third one, right? And so think about like, what is the simplest way that you can start, right? And then once you start, I guarantee you, it's very easy to keep going. It's very easy because you're constantly you're gonna look at where you started. But can you imagine if you have a few days in and where you started was that you built a platform for America and a platform for Kenya and then like no one was on it? That is very discouraging. But
Yeah.
if you say, you know what, I used to connect students one by one, I'll actually buy bundles and get the student to come up on Zoom, go to a cyber, and then I'll actually call the American mentor to show up on Zoom with, like that like when you look at that, like for me, when I talk about my story, I'll be like, I used to carry laptops in my bags,
Yeah.
right? And deal with KRA at the entrance. And I'm carrying like, instead of with 5 laptops, then I was doing 44. When I was doing 44 laptops on my bag to Kenya, for me it was like, oh wow, I've come a long way from 5 to 44. And right
Yeah.
now, what I have people in America who pick up computers and deliver it in my doorstep in Techlit Africa office in Mogotio, right? And so it's a lot inspiring to look at where you came from, right? And so you're likely to keep going if you just start. So don't
Yeah.
complicate things. Think
Make
about the problem and then just start and then keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, and really, by the time you're doing that, you're literally following the energy of your soul. It's what's in you that's
Yes.
making you move
Yes.
forward. It's not like, for me, so many people have come to me and they say, how do I start a library? And I give them, if you see the email, it has like 10 things. Get a room, buy 3 books, call some children. That's literally what it says. And only 2 people have done it. 2 people have done it because it's too easy, I guess. Right? Here's the thing, Nelly, you didn't do this for the glory. What's happened to your audio again? I think I've lost you again. Your audio's,
Okay.
yeah,
Let me move. Like maybe I feel like I need to put my laptop in a stable place.
yeah.
How
No,
about this? Is
yeah,
this
that's
good?
good. Yeah, that's good. We're almost done anyway.
Okay.
You didn't do
So,
this for the glory at all.
right. No, God, no. There's no glory in this. Like being a caller scammer every day and just like getting your soul crushed with these like communities and schools. And like I'm dealing with so many people. I'm dealing with employees, I'm dealing with the parents of the school, I'm dealing with the administration, and each person thinks that they're the only person I'm dealing with, so they're taking all my attention.
Yes.
I feel like people think that there's glory. No, there's no. Even being on CNN may look like glorious, but like really on the ground things are different.
CNN just helps us clap for you for five minutes, and then you go.
Yeah, and then 99% is like you're really on the ground just
Yeah.
screaming. Yeah.
Yeah. Nelly, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I'm really happy that this journey has come here. And we were chatting on Facebook the other day because one day I think were we talking on the phone, and I said, Nelly, it doesn't make sense. Nobody likes your posts. I think we focus on the children. I think that was
Yeah.
the conversation at the time. And I'm
Yeah.
delighted to just see that, yes, there's attention to it now and that something bigger is coming. But still, you haven't told us what's next. How do we support you post CNN Heroes?
I really want to be in every school in Africa.
Hmm.
And I think for me is getting to them when they're still like in first grade all the way to eighth grade. That is the most crucial time. And I think that once they become teenagers, it's become real. Teenagers, it gets harder. The
Yeah,
systems is really like it's really hard to work in high schools because like the system is a lot harder. But primary school is a lot easy. And so for me, every year that we're not in a new school, like we're not in more communities and more communities, it means that kids are aging out of our program without being in a program. They're like not being in a program and they're becoming adults who are technologically illiterate, right?
yeah,
And they're gonna go out and become like border drivers or something and not like take advantage of the internet and make money online. And so I have this urgency for me to go to as many schools as possible. And what I'm constantly looking for, I think, computers for sure.
Yeah.
Like help us get computers. That would be very helpful. If you have any communities in Kenya, schools, parents, whatever it is, I think getting them to understand the program and getting them to support the program is really the most beneficial way, like the most useful way we can actually go through our, like, the most beneficial way. So like there are two ways to support us. If you have
Yeah.
any link to communities in Kenya, telling them about our work and understand that they need to cover the cost of the parents, and then we're gonna come and install it and do it very quickly. That will be very helpful for us because we can grow quickly that way.
Yeah.
And then if you have computers or your company is churning out computers, uh, please like organize for us to get the computers. And then we are still fundraising to get those computers into Kenya. It's costing us $50 a computer to get it into Kenya. It's very
Yeah.
expensive, logistics, international travel. And so if you can donate, and again, the best way to support us is the sustainable angle, right? Like the consistency angle, which is like if you can join our monthly program,
Yes.
like it may be a lot more useful for, like it will be very powerful if you can come in at even $20 a month, right, recurring, as opposed to $1,000 once,
One
right?
time.
So
Yeah. Because we don't know. We
yeah,
don't have a relationship. We just went on a date. It's like a good
yeah,
date.
yeah, right. But yeah, but if you come in at $20 and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna advance, we're building a relationship, he's like a long-term supporter. So join. So just to summarize, three things: computers. If your company is churning out computers, please remember us. uh if you're linked to communities in Kenya in any way, or in Kenya for now because we're only in Kenya, tell them about our program, see how we can come into those communities. And lastly, joining our monthly program, just supporting us. This mostly goes towards our shipping costs, which is
Yeah.
the most expensive thing. But I guarantee you, once the computers go into Kenya, they're sustainable. They are creating jobs. They are teaching kids, and we're never gonna fundraise for that. I
Okay.
will not fundraise for the Kenyan side
And for
because
me,
communities.
yeah, and today I'm going to do two of the three. I'm going to commit to the $20 a month. You can count on me
Oh,
forever, forever. And
nice.
then I'm going to, because of course, I'm in my community and I'll definitely see how we can get there. I'm definitely committing to that as a 2023 goal. Our kids
Okay.
use that in their schools. In terms of computers from the companies, do you want them to commit to giving you the computers and shipping them to your door in Mogotio?
But you find sometimes it's very hard
Yeah,
because the people giving the computers are not the people who make the money.
fun.
Like the
Yeah,
IT team we don't have a budget to ship for it because it's very costly. And so we fundraise separately for the computers. So that the monthly donation, any through the website, actually goes towards getting these computers from America into Kenya
yeah,
in
but
the hands of the.
these folks listening to you are very connected. So this is what I'm going to ask. I'll be like, yes, we want the computers, but let's do
But
one
then,
better. Have the conversation about the shipping. Look at Brianna. Brianna said she's committing $20 a month. She said, my kids can raise the funds. I love it. I
oh,
absolutely love it. Yeah. And Brianna has she has 5 kids or 6 kids, and I'd love for them to connect to the story.
oh, I love
It's
that.
two, she was
They can
twins.
come visit. Come visit.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, Brianna, we need to go and visit. She said, come visit, all of you. It would
Yeah.
be so much fun. Right. Nelly, I could talk to you for the rest of the day. You are complete inspiration. As a Kenyan, from a Kenyan to another Kenyan, working in the rural areas, I must say it has been an honor to pick up the story and see you grow. And I cannot wait to see where you're going. I have some ideas. Brianna says she has 6 kids and she'd love to come, right? I
Please
cannot
come.
wait to see what's coming for you. And just like Quincy Jones said to Oprah Winfrey, your future is so bright it burns our eyes. It is
Oh,
so
thank you.
bright it burns our eyes.
I have to say, I think thank you so much for being a cheerleader of ours from the beginning, even
Yeah.
if you're the only one in the beginning, right? I think you gotta start from somewhere, right? I really, I really think that I think it's very easy to think that you don't need to support small businesses or people who are starting out. But I'm think like the support that you give, like your friends, your people that you come in, people who inspire you, really means a lot, even if it's just a word of encouragement. I
Yeah.
think like nobody really understand how hard this work is until you're in it. And
Yeah.
so even if it's like, hey, I'm watching you, keep going, that
Yeah.
just gives you energy to go to the next day,
It's
you know.
quiet because it's so quiet sometimes.
Yeah. No, for me, it's even worse. It's like scammer, 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 and then it's like, "Hey, I'm watching you. Keep going." I'm like, "Yes, someone is listening. Okay, I'm gonna keep going." Right. So, so thank
Yeah.
you so much, Wayne, for like
Nelly,
being there
I
from the
love it.
beginning, supporting us. Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving us the time. And I can't wait to see you. And I said it before. I said, you've done your job. It's our turn to vote for you. It's our
Yes.
turn. Okay. So I pray, please continue to have a wonderful evening. I can see that it's already dark because we started off with a lot of light and then now it's time for you to get ready for the evening. Everyone is inspired. Patricia says, so inspirational, upward, skyward, Nelly. I can't wait for your next chapter. And then there's Nelly made light continue to shine bright. I mean, there's just all these amazing comments that have been going on. I wasn't able to do it fast enough, but take some time and read that so that you forget that anyone called you a scammer today.
I will. I will. So I'll save it. I'll read one per day. Like
One per
when I
day for each scammer day.
yeah, I'll be like, okay, I was called a scammer. Let me go and find that live and read
Yeah.
one more comment.
Ladies, if you still have comments, Nelly says it's lonely. Please share this Facebook Live with your friends. Please share the link with your friends. And let's just do this because this is our African sister. And I just think she should win the $100,000 because she can get to many, many, many more kids. That's just my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. Have a phenomenal day. Nelly, hang on with me. Don't hang up yet. I'm going to end the Facebook Live so that I can talk to you about how you feel now. Okay? Have a wonderful day, guys. I'll see you
Oh,
next week on Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern. And then again, Tuesday and Thursday. I'll be back for sure this week. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. and Saturdays at 9 Eastern. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Oh my
thank you for
goodness.
joining. Bye.